Big Blue is a super action-packed course that, like Mount Wario and N64 Rainbow Road, is set up as one long track broken into 3 sections. There's boost pads scattered all over the course that are designed to keep your cart moving and your blood flowing. And if you couldn't have gathered from the course itself, all you gotta do is take a listen to its banger of a soundtrack. Probably my favorite thing about the course is the hype man that gets you pumped up for the last section of the track. Well, that and the fact that this course has got one of the coolest looking shortcuts in the whole game. Welcome to part 96, I guess, of Basic Training, where we're going to cover everything you need to know about Big Blue on 200cc. As always, we're going to cover the recommended builds, mushroom strats, and other advanced tips and tricks to help you start mastering the course. If you find this type of content useful, I'd really appreciate if you'd like the video and share with others. With all that out of the way, let's jump straight into it. The recommended build for this course is going to be Dry Bowser, Mach 8, Leaf Tires, and Paper Glider. This build has an acceleration of 3.25 and a ground speed of 4.25, so we can see that it's a build which prioritizes speed over acceleration, which makes sense since Big Blue is a course that doesn't have a whole lot of twists and turns. And since the acceleration stat is tied very closely with how quickly you can build mini turbos, that's why we want to prioritize speed over acceleration. This is also the main reason that we're using leaf tires instead of rollers. Leaf tires provide an additional speed boost on anti-grab sections, which is pretty much the entirety of this course. Jumping into time trials, I should start with a small disclaimer here that the way that I played the first section of the course is very different from how the top level time trialers play the first section. I'll explain why at the end of the video. Okay, so first thing we're going to notice here is that we use a mushroom straight away. This is for a couple reasons. First, using a mushroom at the very start of the race makes it so that you're immediately going at top speed when the mushroom runs out. Second, there are 2 places in lap 1 where using a mushroom to cut the track was intended, but one of them is actually slower than just using a mushroom at the start of the track. The next thing to notice is that we actually have enough time to build up a mini turbo and an ultra mini turbo on the first turn here, so that's what we're going to do. Make sure to try and cut the inside of the coin panel here, and then take kind of a hard left turn so that you can be in a good position to hit the next boost pad. Then you want to take the upper path at the fork to get more coins. Once we get this trick, we're going to want to hold ZR so that we can land in a right drift on the red part of the track. Then we take a bit of a wider drift angle to get the speed increase from the green track. Alright, so here's the first tricky part. What you want to do here is try and drift off that second arrow from the left on that ramp. And then after leaving the ramp, but before landing on the ground, you want to start holding right so that when you get off the road, we'll be in a good position to take the first cut. That might have been a little bit complicated, so let's go over that again. So we land on the red section here, drift over to the green section, drift off the second arrow from the left, and then you immediately start turning so that you can try and build up a super mini turbo on the off-road here. Then you want to hop, and as soon as you land, use another mushroom. It's not the fastest way to take this cut, but it's a lot safer than how the world record methods do it. Once that's out of the way, you want to start your next drift and stick to the inside of the turn over here. And now you're pretty much done with lap 1. Once you go off the glider, stick to the left side like you see me do here. This is because when you land, you're going to want to take a wide drifting line so that you can use the right side of the track as a ramp to cut out the even wider line that you would normally have to take if you ran the track like normal. Alright, and going back, so you start that drift, and then you use the inside of this turn as a little ramp to get some airtime. Now, you want to keep holding the drift button and holding right on the joystick after you get airtime. This is because it'll allow you to keep building mini turbos in midair. I've put a link to my drifting video to explain why this works. Now we're coming up on probably the coolest looking shortcut in the game. After you get the Ultra Mini Turbo, which is the purple boost there, take the left path, and then you release the Ultra Mini Turbo. Now, I'm not sure whether or not it's actually faster to take that trick off the ramp back there, but I found that it gives me a little bit less time to set up this ridiculous looking shortcut that we're about to take. So basically, hold up on the joystick here, and this will make you land a lot more quickly. Now, a little bit before you get to the left edge of the track here, start a right drift, and then alright, so how exactly does this work? Basically, the F-Zero tracks have this weird thing going on with their gravity where if you hold up or down on the joystick, it'll make you fall faster or slower respectively. So basically what you want to do is you hold up right after going off this ramp to land very quickly. Then you're going to start this drift towards the left edge of the track like I mentioned before. And then once you get airtime, immediately start holding back on the joystick. If you think about your joystick like a clock face, the angle that you want to hold is between about 5 and 6. This will cause you to maintain your height for a lot longer. Then, once you pass this big wall coming up, you change the angle to something closer to like 4 or 5, so that when you land, you'll be in a really good position to take the rest of the section. Now let's take a look at that one more time. So we drift, we get airtime, hold kind of a down left angle on the joystick so that we can maintain our height. Once we pass this big wall, we start holding down and right, and that will cause us to build an Ultra Mini Turbo in midair. Now the last little trick coming up here is called Fast Glider. I go over this in my Pro Strats video, but basically this glider is a special kind of glider known as a cannon glider, and it's special because it shoots you really quickly across very large gaps. Now long story short, instead of tricking off this glider, it's actually faster to try and hop such that you land on top of the blue ramp, because this pulls your glider out faster and gets you going at that really fast speed more quickly. Overall, this saves about 1/10 of a second over doing a trick. Now the rest of the course is actually pretty straightforward. After hitting as many of the boost ramps as you can in this section, tricking off this ramp and then brake drifting around this little hairpin turn, we're going to come up to another fork in the road. Now it's actually faster to take the green section here. And what you're going to want to do is neutral drift, so keep your joystick neutral while you're drifting, and then brake drift a little bit so you can get a good angle here. And then immediately start another left drift. And once you build up a mini turbo, release and hit that first boost pad. After you pass the first boost pad, then you want to start a left drift. And you can do one more cool cut right around the very edge here. So you're going to want to go past the fence here and then immediately just drift off the track. If you hold a hard left drift angle while holding back slightly on the joystick, that'll cause you to have more than enough height to clear the fence here. The last little strat here is to basically hop right before this section of off-road, land and immediately use your mushroom. That'll cause the mushroom to last long enough to get past both sections of off-road here. And with that, you're done. Now let's take a look at how all this looks in a single run. Now, there are a couple pretty major differences in strategy between the runs that you just saw and high-level time trialers on the track, for example the world record ghost. The first is with the second mushroom in section 1, right after the red and green sections. The fastest way to hit that strat is actually to build up an ultra mini turbo instead of a super mini turbo the way that I do. You then immediately release and do a couple of alignment hops to the left. This sets up your alignment for yet another ridiculous shortcut where you cut out the last part of section 1. I don't do it because the whole sequence of inputs and setups is really precise and a huge pain in the ass, but all this would probably save a little more than a second over my methods. The other major difference is the ultra shortcut on section 2. It's actually faster to take the lower section of the track there, but the problem is that, at least in my experience, it's much harder because for one, you've got less height to work with, and for two, there's little boost rings that are in the way, and if you hit them, it just totally screws up your momentum. So the angles that you need to take are also a lot more precise. Anyways, that's going to be all from me for this video. Again, if you found it helpful or informative, I'd really appreciate if you dropped a like and subscribe and all that good stuff. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.